I never expected that meeting someone's ex could change my life, or rather, my entire identity forever. My name is Ryan, and like most 24-year-olds juggling a desk job and a fledgling social life, I thought my biggest problems were deadlines and awkward small talk. But life, as it often does, had a way of pulling the rug out from under you at the most unexpected moments. It all began in our small downtown apartment, a cozy space that Emma and I had slowly transformed into our little sanctuary. The walls were painted a soft cream, scattered with framed memories of trips and events we'd shared. The couch sagged in the middle, evidence of countless lazy Sundays spent binge-watching shows or lounging with snacks. Despite the charm, I had always felt like there was a version of myself I kept tucked away in the corners of this apartment, one I never let Emma see. I had discovered crossdressing as a form of quiet rebellion and self-expression. There was a freedom in slipping into clothes, makeup, and styles traditionally considered feminine, a thrill that pulsed through my veins and made me feel both delicate and empowered at once. It wasn't about wanting to escape my masculinity, but rather about exploring a side of myself that was rarely acknowledged. I had my collection of dresses, heels, and accessories, hidden away in the deepest corner of my wardrobe, a private sanctuary for experimentation. It was my little secret, carefully balanced alongside my routine life. Emma, my girlfriend of 2 years, was a whirlwind of kindness, intelligence, and stubborn charm. She was intuitive, always seeming to sense when something was off, yet she had never stumbled upon my secret. Our relationship was open in many ways, filled with laughter, inside jokes, and the occasional squabble over trivial things like whose turn it was to do the dishes. But there was an unspoken boundary I had kept, one I hadn't dared cross. Our initial meeting had been a typical college scenario. Emma was vibrant, full of life, and the kind of person who could command attention without even trying. I had been shy, reserved, watching from the corner, feeling like I had nothing to offer someone like her. Yet somehow, amidst the chaos of our shared friends and lecture halls, we had connected. Our bond grew through long conversations about dreams, fears, and ambitions. But what neither of us knew at the time was that our relationship would soon become a playground for secrets, challenges, and unexpected transformations. The day it all began, I was lounging on the couch, scrolling absent-mindedly through my phone. Emma had gone out for the afternoon, leaving me with a rare window of solitude. The sunlight streamed through the half-open blinds, casting stripes across the living room floor. It should have been an ordinary, calm afternoon, but that calm was a thin veneer over the storm that was about to hit. A knock at the door startled me. I wasn't expecting anyone, and our buzzer system didn't indicate a visitor. Cautiously, I opened the door to find a woman with a striking resemblance to Emma, yet unmistakably different. Sharp features, an air of controlled elegance, and eyes that glimmered with both amusement and something darker. "You must be Ryan," she said, her voice smooth, deliberate. "Emma talks about you often." I blinked, a knot forming in my stomach. Hi. "You're Cassandra," she interrupted, holding out her hand. "Emma's ex." I thought it was time we'd met properly. There was a slight smirk on her face, a tension in the air that I couldn't quite place. Cassandra was beautiful in a polished, deliberate way, the kind of beauty that made people pause mid-conversation. Yet beneath that surface was something calculating, almost theatrical. She didn't seem here for casual introductions. As she stepped inside, I felt a strange mix of fear and curiosity. There was something about her presence that unsettled me, like the calm before a storm. She glanced around the apartment, taking in the carefully curated chaos of our living space, and finally focused on me. "I've been watching," she said, almost casually, "how happy Emma seems with you. And I can't deny it makes me a little competitive." Her gaze sharpened. "So, I thought, why not create a little challenge? For you. For me. For perspective." I laughed nervously, unsure whether she was joking or serious. "A challenge?" "Yes," Cassandra said, her smile widening. "A challenge where you might discover a side of yourself you didn't know existed. Think of it as transformative." Before I could respond, She pulled out a small envelope and handed it to me. Inside was a note, simple and direct. Wear the outfit I've chosen. Become me for a day.
Prove you can handle it.
Or learn what happens when you don't. My mind raced. Part of me was intrigued, the thrill, the curiosity, but another part recoiled in panic. What did she mean by become me? It sounded absurd, impossible, and yet the undertone was clear. This wasn't a casual dare. It was a deliberate test. Emma returned later that evening, completely unaware of Cassandra's visit or the envelope that lay on the coffee table. The contrast between her warmth and Cassandra's enigmatic presence only heightened my anxiety. As I prepared dinner, my hands shook slightly, anticipation and fear coiling tightly in my chest. That night, alone in my room, I examined the envelope again. Inside was a set of clothing, a dress strikingly similar to what Cassandra herself wore, a wig matching her hair color, and accessories carefully selected to mirror her appearance. My heart pounded. The thought of dressing like someone else, of embodying her, was terrifying and thrilling all at once. I stared at my reflection, the untested potential of transformation staring back at me. Could I really do it? Could I step into another identity, not just for fun, but as a test from someone who clearly had intentions I didn't yet understand? I hesitated, fingers brushing the delicate fabric of the dress. Somewhere deep inside, a whisper of curiosity urged me forward. What would it feel like to become someone else, her, for just a short time? The thrill mingled with fear, creating a cocktail of emotions that made my palms sweat. And as I stood there, caught between my secret desires and the looming challenge, I realized that my ordinary life, the comfortable routine, the boundaries I had set, was about to shatter. In that moment, I had no idea that this small act of curiosity would spiral into an adventure of suspense, transformation, and emotional upheaval that would challenge everything I thought I knew about myself, Emma, and Cassandra. The first step had been taken. The journey from Ryan to something more, something mirrored, something dangerously transformative had begun. And there was no turning back. The envelope sat on my bed like a loaded question. Every time I glanced at it, my heart thudded harder. Cassandra's challenge wasn't just a game, it was a test of identity, daring me to step into someone else's world. For most people, this would have seemed absurd or even humiliating, but for me, it sparked a dangerous mix of fear and curiosity. I hesitated, staring at the clothes she had chosen. A form-fitting dress, soft yet commanding attention, a wig the same shade as Cassandra's glossy hair, and accessories that screamed sophistication. Picking them up, I felt the first tremors of vulnerability. The fabric was smooth under my fingers, almost intoxicating, and I wondered if she had intentionally selected items that would force me to feel exposed. A part of me screamed to put it aside, to lock it away and pretend the challenge never existed. But another part, the part one rarely let anyone see, buzzed with excitement. What would it feel like to look in the mirror and see Cassandra's image staring back at me? To move like her, carry her poise, even temporarily inhabit her life? I changed into the dress, each movement heavy with tension. The fabric hugged my shoulders, my torso, my hips, and I felt my body both constricted and strangely alive. The wig was next, slipping over my scalp and settling into place. It transformed not just my appearance, but the way I held myself. In the mirror, I hardly recognized the reflection staring back. Cassandra's elegance had overlaid my own features, turning me into a hybrid of familiar and foreign. I practiced walking, balancing awkwardly on the heels she had selected. Each step was a challenge. The unfamiliarity of the shoes forced me to concentrate, to adjust my posture, and with each tentative step, I felt both exhilarated and humiliated. I realized how much of my true self I had hidden, how much control I had maintained in my ordinary life, and how terrifying it was to surrender that control, even partially, to this new persona. The internal struggle was intense. My mind raced with thoughts of Emma. What if she returned early? What if she saw me like this and misunderstood? A mix of shame and excitement pulsed through me. The secret life I had nurtured privately had now been amplified, exposed to scrutiny in a way that felt dangerously intimate. The stakes were no longer theoretical, they were immediate, personal, and impossible to ignore. I spent hours adjusting every detail. Makeup carefully applied to replicate Cassandra's signature look, eyeliner accentuating my eyes, lips tinted a soft, commanding hue. Jewelry placed meticulously to match her style. Every touch, every adjustment, heightened my awareness of my body and my reflection. I was both Ryan and something else entirely, a fusion of my curiosity and her identity. Then came the suspenseful part, the possibility of being discovered. I paced the apartment, listening for the faintest sound of Emma's key in the lock. Every creak of the floorboards, every distant noise outside the window, made me flinch. I couldn't help but imagine her reaction: confusion, curiosity, maybe even judgment. The uncertainty made each movement more deliberate, more loaded with tension. I tested my voice, softening it, adjusting the pitch to approximate Cassandra's. I practiced gestures and expressions in the mirror. Each time, I caught a glimpse of myself that was both thrilling and unnerving. Was this who I wanted to be, even temporarily? Could I inhabit this persona fully, without losing myself in the process? Hours passed and my confidence grew, but so did the vulnerability. I caught myself laughing at my reflection, embarrassed by my own fascination. I realized I had never confronted this side of myself in such a deliberate, public way, even if public meant only the mirror for now. The thrill of transformation was intoxicating, and I felt my pulse quicken with every passing moment. Suddenly, the phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number flashed on the screen. "Are you ready to truly become her?" My stomach dropped. Cassandra had warned me indirectly, but the immediacy of the message made my heart race. Was she watching? Was this part of the challenge, a psychological test to heighten my anxiety? I felt a shiver of both fear and anticipation. I decided to push further. I left the apartment and stepped into the nearby park, each heel clicking against the pavement, drawing attention I hadn't expected. Passers-by glanced at me, some curious, some dismissive. My reflection in the store windows revealed the full effect of the transformation. I was unrecognizable, yet unmistakably me beneath it all, a strange, fragile balance between exposure and concealment. Every step carried a thrill, a brush of adrenaline that made my skin tingle. I felt like an actor in a performance where the script had yet to be written. The internal dialogue was relentless. Can I keep this up? Will Emma ever understand? What happens if someone else sees? Returning to the apartment, my anxiety spiked. The door was locked, but the tension remained. I carefully arranged myself in front of the mirror again, adjusting the dress, the wig, the makeup. I was learning the persona, discovering the physical and emotional nuances that made Cassandra herself so compelling. And yet, beneath the careful mimicry, I could feel my own identity negotiating with this new form. The suspense intensified when a soft knock echoed through the apartment. My breath caught. Could Emma have returned early? I froze, listening. No further sound followed, only the soft hum of the city outside. The knock seemed like a signal, a reminder that the challenge wasn't just about clothes or makeup, but about navigating fear, expectation, and the unknown. For hours, I practiced subtle movements, expressions, and ways of speaking that aligned with Cassandra's presence. Every mirror glance, every step, every adjustment was a step deeper into the challenge. I was learning not just to imitate, but to embody, a delicate dance between my own identity and the persona imposed by Cassandra's challenge. By evening, exhaustion and exhilaration mingled. My body ached from the heels, my hands were sore from applying and reapplying makeup, yet my mind was sharper than ever. The suspense of possible discovery, combined with the thrill of transformation, had pushed me into a state of heightened awareness. Every noise, every shadow, every flicker of movement became significant. I was alone in the apartment, yet acutely conscious of the invisible observers, the threat of being seen, judged, or even confronted. I sank onto the couch, heels clicking lightly against the floor. My reflection in the nearby mirror caught my eye, and for the first time, I didn't just see a hybrid of Ryan and Cassandra. I saw someone on the brink of a transformation that would challenge my understanding of identity, desire, and vulnerability. The night was young, and the challenge was far from over. In the quiet of the apartment, the thrill of anticipation settled into a tense, electric hum. Every shadow, every whisper of sound, every flicker of light felt loaded with meaning. I knew the real test wasn't just the clothes or the persona. It was navigating the suspense, the fear, and the exhilaration that came from inhabiting a life not entirely my own. And somewhere in the back of my mind, a single, nagging thought persisted. Emma could come home at any moment, and then everything, my secret, my experiment, my carefully constructed control, would be exposed. Am I ready for that? The knock at the door came suddenly, jarring me from my careful preparation. My heart slammed against my ribs as I froze, the heels I had grown accustomed to now feeling like instruments of vulnerability. Every muscle tensed as I considered the possibilities.
Emma.
A neighbor, or worse, Cassandra herself, checking in to witness her experiment firsthand. I crept toward the door, each step measured, the click of my heels unnervingly loud in the quiet apartment. My reflection in the hallway mirror caught my eye. I looked like Cassandra, yet my own anxiety shone through in my eyes, betraying the persona I had so carefully crafted. Taking a deep breath, I opened the door. It was just a delivery man holding a small package. Relief and frustration washed over me simultaneously. I took the package, signing for it with trembling hands, all the while aware that Emma could return at any second. The tension was unbearable, each passing minute stretching like hours. Once the door closed, I let myself exhale, only to be immediately consumed by the realization that the challenge had escalated. The dress, the wig, the makeup, they were no longer just tools for transformation. They had become a symbol of my dual existence, and I was acutely aware of how precarious it all was. I adjusted the hem of the dress, feeling its silky fabric against my skin, grounding myself in the moment. The phone buzzed again. Another message from Cassandra. "You're doing well, but are you ready for the next step?" I stared at it, stomach nodding. The next step. I didn't know what she meant, but a part of me feared and craved it simultaneously. I had crossed a line, and there was no turning back. The evening deepened, shadows creeping along the walls of the apartment, mirroring the anxiety clawing at my chest. Every creak, every hum of the city outside became amplified, a drumbeat of suspense echoing in my mind. I decided to test myself further. I walked through the apartment, practicing movements, gestures, and expressions, becoming more fluid in Cassandra's persona. Yet each reflection, each practiced smile, only reminded me of the delicate balance I was maintaining. One misstep, and the illusion would shatter. Suddenly, a sharp knock echoed again, more insistent this time. My breath hitched.
Emma.
My heart raced as I debated what to do. Should I hide, change back, or confront the possibility and hope she would understand? I tiptoed to the door, hand trembling as I reached for the handle. "Ryan." Emma's voice, soft yet probing, made my knees weak. I swallowed hard. "Yeah, it's me," I croaked, voice higher than usual, forced to match Cassandra's pitch. She stepped inside, looking around the apartment. Her eyes widened slightly, not in anger, but in bewilderment. What are you wearing?" The moment froze time. My mind raced. I could explain, lie, or attempt to deflect, but none of it seemed enough. Emma stepped closer, her expression unreadable, studying me with an intensity that made me feel both exposed and oddly exhilarated. It's a challenge," I stammered, words feeling inadequate. "Cassandra, she dared me to try this. To become her." Emma's brow furrowed. "Why would you agree to that?" I shifted uncomfortably in the heels, feeling every inch of vulnerability. I don't know. Part of me wanted to understand. Part of me wanted to see if I could." The tension in the room was palpable. Emma circled me slowly, taking in the transformation, the dress hugging my figure, the wig perfectly styled, the makeup flawless. She stopped in front of me, her gaze piercing, weighing, analyzing. "You look like her," she finally said, voice soft but edged with emotion. "It's uncanny." Relief mixed with panic. She wasn't angry, yet, but the uncertainty was worse. I could feel my pulse hammering in my ears as I waited for her reaction to tip the balance. Before she could say more, another knock sounded at the door. Both of us froze.
Who now?
The suspense twisted into dread. I glanced at Emma, eyes wide, and she gave a subtle shake of her head, signaling me to handle it. I opened the door cautiously. It was Cassandra herself, smirking knowingly. "I see you've made it this far," she said, her eyes glinting with amusement. Emma stepped back, confused and wary. Cassandra's presence amplified the tension, creating a triangle of unspoken conflicts. I stood between them, feeling the full weight of my vulnerability and exposure. "Are you testing me?" I asked, voice trembling, trying to maintain composure. Cassandra chuckled.
No, Ryan.
"You're testing yourself. And it seems you're doing wonderfully. But now, the real challenge begins." Before I could respond, she handed me a small envelope. Inside, detailed instructions for the next phase of transformation, pushing me further into Cassandra's persona. I felt a thrill of fear and excitement, knowing that each step would strip away more of my comfort, my control, my identity. Emma's eyes softened slightly, but concern lingered. I don't know what to think," she admitted. "But if this is something you need to explore, I'll try to understand." Her tentative acceptance sent a shiver down my spine. I was exhilarated and terrified at the same time. Cassandra's challenge had escalated from private exploration to public exposure, emotional confrontation, and the testing of trust. Every detail, the heels, the dress, the makeup, the messages, the knock at the door, had converged to create a storm of suspense that left me teetering on the edge. Hours passed, each filled with nervous anticipation, rehearsed movements, and whispered instructions from Cassandra. I practiced expressions, gestures, and speech, perfecting the persona while constantly aware of Emma's presence. Each moment brought new tension, as though the apartment itself had become a stage for this dangerous performance. Then, in the quietest moment, the phone buzzed one final time. A picture appeared, a candid shot of me, fully transformed, taken without my knowledge. My reflection in the screen merged with the image, creating a duality that was impossible to ignore. The thrill, the fear, the excitement, the vulnerability, they all collided in a single instant. I realized that the climax wasn't about discovery or confrontation. It was about the complete surrender to transformation, the full immersion into Cassandra's world, and the emotional turbulence of being exposed to those I cared about. The suspense had reached its peak, and I had no choice but to confront it, to embrace it, and to navigate the delicate balance between fear and exhilaration. The apartment was silent except for the faint hum of the city outside. I stood frozen in front of the mirror, the dress clinging perfectly, the wig styled just like Cassandra's, and the makeup flawless. My reflection stared back at me, not fully her, a perfect blend of duality that left me feeling exposed and electrified all at once. Emma was on the couch, her arms wrapped around herself, watching me carefully. Her eyes held a mixture of awe, confusion, and something softer, curiosity. She had witnessed the transformation, yet I could tell she didn't fully understand the storm of emotions coursing through me. Before I could speak, my phone buzzed. A message from Cassandra. "Well done, Ryan. But are you ready for the next step? Meet me tomorrow, if you dare." A chill ran down my spine. I had no choice but to comply. The challenge wasn't over. In fact, it had just begun. I looked at Emma, trying to read her expression, searching for reassurance or understanding. She shook her head slightly, as if to say, "I don't know what to do, but I trust you maybe." Suddenly, there was a sharp knock at the door. My heart leapt into my throat. Emma's hand found mine, squeezing it, silent support, or maybe a warning. I tiptoed toward the door, feeling every inch of my body aware of the delicate balance I was maintaining. The click of my heels against the floor sounded like thunder in my ears. I opened the door, and there was no one. Only a small envelope lay on the doorstep, illuminated by the dim hallway light. Trembling, I picked it up, my fingers brushing over the smooth paper. The envelope was unmarked, except for my name written in Cassandra's precise handwriting. I glanced at Emma. I don't know who it's from. She raised an eyebrow, her curiosity overtaking her caution. Open it, she urged, her voice soft but insistent. Inside was a single Polaroid photo. My heart stopped. It showed me, exactly as I was now, dressed as Cassandra, heels, wig, makeup, all captured from an angle I hadn't even noticed. My reflection in the photo seemed alive, almost watching me, mocking me. I turned the photo over. Nothing. No explanation. Just the image. Emma gasped, her hand flying to her mouth. Where did this come from? I swallowed hard. Cassandra, I admitted. She's orchestrating this. Watching me. Testing me. A cold dread settled over me. Every step I had taken, every movement I had practiced, every expression I had perfected, it was all being observed. My secret, my vulnerability, was no longer private. The thrill of transformation had merged with fear, and I felt the weight of it pressing down on my chest. Emma's eyes softened, but concern lingered. And what are you going to do? I couldn't answer. The reality was that I had no control. Cassandra had pulled me into a game I hadn't fully understood, and now I was trapped between fear, desire, and the intoxicating pull of becoming someone else entirely. As the clock ticked, the apartment seemed smaller, the walls closing in. Every shadow became a potential threat, every sound a reminder that my secret could be exposed at any moment. I looked at Emma again, her expression a mixture of trust, fear, and fascination. I don't know if I can stop, I whispered, more to myself than to her. She's changed everything. And my words died in my throat as the lights flickered suddenly, plunging the room into dim shadows. The silence was deafening, broken only by the soft click of the door unlocking. Emma's eyes widened. Who is that? I froze, every muscle taut, my mind racing. The door slowly creaked open, and in the doorway stood a figure I couldn't fully recognize in the dim light. Tall, confident, moving with a purpose that sent shivers down my spine. I knew immediately who it was, Cassandra, but there was something more. A glint in her eyes, a smile that promised chaos. Ryan, she said softly, stepping inside. You didn't think it would end tonight, did you? Emma grabbed my arm, her grip firm, as though anchoring me to reality. What's happening? She demanded, panic rising in her voice. Cassandra's smile widened. Oh, we're just getting started. And this time there's no turning back. I felt a rush of adrenaline, fear, and anticipation. The reality hit me fully. I was caught between two worlds, my old life and the new persona I had become. Every decision from this point on would shape the path ahead, and I wasn't sure if I was ready to face it. The three of us stood in the apartment, the tension palpable, hearts racing, breath shallow. I looked down at my heels, at the dress that now felt like both armor and trap. My reflection in the mirror showed two versions of me, one afraid, one daring, one transformed. And in that moment, the world seemed to hold its breath. Would I survive Cassandra's game? Could Emma accept this side of me? Or was everything I knew about myself about to unravel? The answer was uncertain. The next move could change everything. And then the scene cut to black.